The origin of the Israelites according to the Bible. God called Abram to follow him. Abram was a pagan. God called him to follow him, so Abram stopped worshiping false gods and started worshiping God and moved away. And God promised that he would have many descendants, that his descendants would be uncountable like the sand on the seashore. He changed his name to Abraham and his wife's name from Sarai to Sarah. And after a long time and some doubts between Abraham and, not Abraham, but by Sarah, they had a son, Isaac. Isaac had two sons, Jacob and Esau. Jacob was the younger, but was the one that God chose to have the descendants who would be his chosen people. Jacob, after an encounter with God, was renamed Israel, and you can see where this is going. Israel, Jacob, had 12 sons, and they ended up in Egypt after a famine where their second youngest brother had ended up after his older brothers sold him into slavery. He ended up in Egypt as a ruler and brought his brothers to Egypt to provide for them during the famine. There's a famine going around, and God used that to provide for their families. Over the course of the next 400, 500-ish years, they multiplied into the nation of Israel in Egypt with the 12 tribes that are listed in the Bible. And so from there, God delivered them from Egypt into the wilderness where he was with them for 40 years as they wandered, and then brought them into the promised land where he then set them up as an actual nation with him as their leader. Eventually, they got dissatisfied with God being their king and demanded an actual king, an earthly king. And God said, fine, you can have one, but it's not going to help you like you think it is. So they got a king. It was King Saul. King Saul was weak. He was selfish. He was a coward and was not an effective leader. And then we have King David. King David was a warrior king who conquered the nations around them, made Israel safe, leading into his son Solomon's kingship, where there was just a golden age of Israel. But Solomon just screwed it up by worshiping other gods and inviting other foreign women who worshipped other gods into his kingdom, and it was not good. And so God took the kingdom away from him, split it up, and more from that happened, but I've already passed the question. NT, so they first appear from Egypt. Technically, no. Technically, theoretically, well, yeah, you could say they started in, where are they? I think Canaan. No, let's see. For all intents and purposes, yes. They grew to be a nation in Egypt.